That's right, baby. It's time for movie trailer trash. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to Movie Trailer Trash. My name's Charlie.
And I'm Bethany.
And we just watched the trailer for Captain Marvel. I know we're a little late on it, but it's better late than early, is what I always say.
No.
That's the phrase, right?
No. But also, we've been busy.
Busy AF.
And this is our first podcast in our new house.
Yeah.
We are recording in our house.
House. Recording in our house, not outside, not in some
cool.
shabby apartment.
Anyway, so welcome if you're new to Movie Trailer Trash. We talk about trailers, and we're talking about Captain Marvel today.
Yes, we are. And, yeah, let's just get into it.
Okay.
So Captain Marvel coming out first half of next year. The story of it I don't really know very well.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
and
big
they don't-
into the Captain Marvel comic books, and I never have read them very much.
Or at all, right?
I might read some of them in preparation for this.
Maybe don't.
But
I'm
so,
a big fan of not reading the story before. Like, why ruin it?
I don't know. I kind of like it. I like
Clearly,
so, like,
the movie will be better than the comic books.
I don't know.
In
That's
this
not always the
instance,
case.
In this instance, clearly. They have Brie Larson. They scored Brie Larson.
Like Watchmen.
One of the best actresses of our time, of our age.
Comic book, The Watchmen is better than the movie.
I've heard, but I don't think that'll be the case in this situation.
And so, yeah. So Brie Larson is obviously Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers or whatever they're
Also-
going to choose to call her. Sometimes she's Miss Marvel in the comic books, but I think that's a different character in that universe. I don't even know. Yeah, but
That's what I think.
I think that Marvel has done a fairly good job of making slight variations or combining stories
Sure.
and different parts of different things and making things exciting and
Sure,
different.
Yeah.
Now, so Brie Larson is Captain Marvel. I think that this is the only actor in the MCU who has won a Best Actor award.
Oh, wow, really? What about
It's possible that
Robert Downey
Redford
Jr.
has. Robert Downey Jr. maybe
Paul
has.
Bettany might have won Best Supporting Actor.
Because I know that
He's great.
Charlie Chaplin movie that Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
made won some sort of award, so it's possible.
Robert Downey Jr., Paul Bettany, Mark Ruffalo has been in some good stuff.
no,
Probably
I don't
not
think so.
winner of awards, though.
I don't know. I don't think Paul Bettany has. For
I
any
think he's
reason.
probably been Best Supporting Actor.
Maybe, yeah.
Because he's never a main character. Sorry, Paul.
Right. Sorry,
but he's
Paul.
amazing. He's great.
And so there's
him.
that. So she's obviously going to be a very good actor, which we know that she is.
Yes,
I
she's
love her
incredible.
because she's also very funny and has done a lot of comedic movies. The first time I saw her was in 21 Jump Street.
Question, what did she win for?
Room.
Oh, man. That's good. That's a good one.
And so the movie itself, and you know, also you have some other really good actors with her. You have Samuel Jackson, who seems to be, this might be his biggest role yet, and he has to be all
Yeah,
de-aged
he's going to
during
be an
the whole
actual
thing.
main character in it.
Did you
as
even
opposed
notice
to,
it?
Jumping in. Yes, of course I noticed it.
No, but I mean, like, it's so
de-aged
good.
him like 30 years.
It's so good.
Okay, actually 20 years. Sorry, I exaggerated there.
So Samuel Jackson, de-aged Samuel Jackson is in it.
Back to the 90s.
Phil Coulson with hair is in it.
And by the way, they de-aged him a lot too. I
yeah,
could tell.
not
like,
as much, but they just
yeah,
got rid
but
of
I could
some
tell
wrinkles,
more because
basically.
of how much more handsome he looked. I was like, dang, Phil, good for you.
Jude Law is going to be a big part of this movie.
Apparently, green eyes.
And also, of course, Blockbuster.
I'm not just saying he has green eyes. They clearly made his eyes greener or yellower than normal.
Just passed right over my supporting actor Blockbuster
Oh, I'm
joke.
sorry. I didn't realize what you were doing. You were joking.
Blockbuster will win Best Supporting Actor in this movie.
Right. People are very excited about Blockbuster. The day that this trailer came out, I was like, oh, yeah, that was a decent trailer. I wasn't like enthused, but because I'm curious, I went and looked to see what people were saying on Twitter, and probably at least half of the tweets were like, Blockbuster!
Okay, so
People were so excited.
I don't get into the whole nostalgia thing very much.
Yeah.
It kind of annoys me, actually, because like for the most part, basically everything that you loved as a kid that you thought was really good, there's a better version of it now by like 1,000%.
Yeah, and you're like, you know, why like things that you used to like? God, you're such a loser for enjoying and remembering the good times.
I'm just saying, for the most part, I don't get into that very much. But
Fair
seeing
enough.
Blockbuster made me miss Blockbuster a lot. Like, I miss video rental stores and physically going in and walking around and looking at the cases and stuff like that.
Well, and this makes sense for us. We're movie podcasters, right? We podcast about movies. That's what this is. And we love movies.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. And we watch...
I thought this was a Blockbuster podcast.
Stop it. We watch a lot of movies. So it makes sense for us, especially, to be really into that and to miss it. Because, back when we lived in Columbia, Missouri, there is a small movie rental place there, which there aren't many left. Actually, Blockbuster was there for a long time. They were like some of the last Blockbusters to close, but they did close while we were there. And so we would go to this old little tiny movie rental place and rent movies, not because we couldn't rent them online, but because it's fun to go and look and pick one out, going not knowing what you're going to look for.
They
just
do the whole
around.
thing where they and
they have
Voodoo and stuff does this also, but like sometimes they'll have a staff member who's into it and they'll do their own thing. Sometimes they'll have like the new releases, some other stuff, and then the one that we went to had a big section that was just organized by different famous directors.
Oh yeah.
So like it would be like
that's fun.
all of this, like
Steven
all of
Spielberg.
Stanley Kubrick's movies, all of Steven Spielberg's movies, all of Edgar Wright's movies. The three of them
and the
that
nice
were out
thing
at
about
the time.
that place is you could find older movies that maybe you could find online, but because they're so popular, they're like $5 to rent. Whereas you could get it for $2 at this place, because it was just a movie rental. They don't jack up the price just because it's a popular old movie. You can watch Star Wars without them jacking up the price. So, I mean, it was fun and interesting. And I understand why a lot of people feel nostalgic about it because it is something that is so lost in time, so stuck in time back then.
But yeah, so that's one of the ones that I connect with.
But
that
people
I miss.
were freaking out about it.
Samuel Jackson is de-aged very clearly, has both eyes.
Yes.
I think
which
you're gonna
will definitely be important.
You're gonna get to see Samuel Jackson lose his eye, and
Probably.
I was saying to my brother, if they don't like give you a bunch of times where he's going to clearly lose his eye, and then it like barely misses. And so that the whole time during the movie, you're just like, oh, here it comes. No, that wasn't it. Oh, he's going to lose his eye. No, you just missed it. There should be like 5 or 6 times where that happens.
There's at least going to be a couple because that's fun and that causes drama.
Yeah, it would be hilarious.
We're going to be waiting for it for sure.
So
I would be disappointed if he doesn't lose his eye in this.
Let's talk about
they need to show us what happened.
Actual what it looks like is going to happen, and then
based on the very little information it gave us.
Right, you don't get a lot. But what I think is happening here is that it's she used to be on Earth. She got taken away by Jude Law.
Okay.
And then the alien race that she was with turned her into a soldier and erased her memory. And then she was somehow near Earth and fell back down to Earth. Now she's going to get her memory back.
Or
and
at
she's
least
going
flashes
to
of a memory.
Save the Earth from the invading Skrull attack and or Kree attack, because Ronan is in this too.
Fair enough. So explain what Skrulls are to the non-avid comic book readers out there.
Skrulls are one of the very first Marvel villains ever made.
Okay.
And they are shapeshifters. So they can look like anybody they choose to want to look
okay, like that guy on Star Trek Voyager.
Sure. Anyone?
He's a cool shapeshifter.
It's a fairly common power, especially amongst villains.
Sorry. She's relating it to something I can.
It's like a bunch of
think
green mystiques.
Oh.
Right? Okay.
Ooh.
So they can do that.
So are the Kree are blue.
Yes.
And the green people that we saw were the shapeshifters?
The Skrulls.
Yeah. So when she looked like she was a part of their army at one point.
Well, no, the Skrulls, no, she was with the other people. The
Skrulls, that was the Kree. They were wearing green.
The Skrulls are the ones
they were blue people.
That the image that you've seen of them coming out of the ocean,
yes,
with the wrinkly faces.
They look very much like a Star Trek villain.
They do actually.
They do. They
I
look
was
like.
I was saying they look that image in particular kind of looks like a Power Rangers image.
Yeah, kind of. I'm trying to think of who they look like. They look so much like an actual Star Trek villain, but that's okay.
Right.
They're from space. They're aliens. It's cool.
The trailer can get away with a lot more because of it's Marvel, and so I trust them.
Sure, well, and it doesn't look terrible. I'm just saying it looks like Star Trek, but Star Trek is like the #1 alien TV show ever.
And so it seems pretty simple,
so
story-wise, which is fine. Again,
sure.
She's probably going to be dealing with a lot of different stuff. It's probably going to be pretty funny, I think. Throughout the whole thing.
Well, it's Marvel. They like to sprinkle in some humor.
And you know that she is capable. Like, she has the ability to do that. Maybe even, like, improv a little bit with some of the people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I will say this though, in fairness, when I saw the trailer, I did not pick up any of that. I was completely lost. I thought she was an alien who had been given some memories of a human. So like maybe you'd already heard a little bit about it, or maybe you just are more.
I know
You're just better at recognizing things, but the trailer was so vague that to me, she's saying like, I have flashes of memories. I feel like I've been here before. I thought she was just an alien who somehow got like the memories of someone else. But now that you say that, it makes a lot more sense that she would be human. I always thought Captain Marvel was an alien, because when I saw that at the end of Infinity War, he paged her. I heard, I think you told me or somebody told me like, yeah, she's like up in space somewhere.
Yeah.
And so she gave them a way to contact her. So I'm like, oh, she must be an alien. Like my head just went to, she's an alien.
Now it looks like.
Why else would she be super?
It looks like what happens is she comes down to Earth.
Alien torture.
She helps on Earth after Samuel Jackson helps her get her memories back. And then he has that pager that he clips to his belt that he's using to contact her and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when she goes back to space, probably at the end of the movie, then she makes a little adjustment to it, and so she can be contacted in space if he needs her.
Does it show that? Are you saying?
Well, when he's using it in the trailer, it's just a normal pager.
Yeah.
And then at the end of Infinity War, it has some like weird alien
I didn't
technology
notice that.
on it.
I didn't notice that. I mean, a lot was happening in Infinity War. I didn't notice the details.
And then also, what was I going to say? The Skrulls, the whatever. There's a lot of people who are, who is the Skrull. Basically, everyone knows everyone knows what the post-credits scene for this is going to be, and it's going to be someone flashing a Skrull face of some kind.
And so Charlie has said this to me before as a kind of a joke or a what if scenario, like what if the whole time Nick Fury has been a Skrull?
Right.
Like,
so like from this moment on,
from the 90s on, he has been a Skrull, and so he's been collecting all these people saying it's for a good cause, but really he has some evil plan, right? But obviously now, because of where we are with Infinity Wars, we can probably rule that out. But the point is, it could be anybody. So, and these are comic book stories, so they will do anything. They will hurt you. They don't care.
Let me tell you another thing about
comic books are cruel.
The Skrulls as a people. Is they're super advanced technologically. Okay. So one of the first times you see the Skrulls is they're going up against the Fantastic Four, and so a few of them are. What they do is they capture you, they put you in jail on their spaceship, and then they impersonate you, and then since they're so advanced, like for the Human Torch, they were able to shapeshift, but also create some sort of like jetpack thing so that he could fly around and throw fire as the Human Torch.
Okay.
So like they don't take their powers, but they can replicate them.
Because they're smart enough, basically.
Right. So if a Skrull stole, let's say...
The Hulk?
Yeah, let's say the Hulk. If they stole his appearance, they could shapeshift into the Hulk, but they wouldn't be that strong. So they would have to figure out a way to be that strong or whatever, do something. If they shapeshifted Ant-Man, they would be able to...
Be small, but they wouldn't have the density and all that.
Well, yeah, right, exactly.
They wouldn't be able to...
Yeah, they would just be little bugs.
That would be useful.
And so there's all of that to think about. So they can be anyone, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, shapeshifters.
I mean, the Hulk came back from outer space, and he couldn't turn into the Hulk. So maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not, because he's really weird and he's all crazy. But
I would say, a couple things. When I first saw the trailer, I thought also that they clearly show her being like tortured by aliens at some point, it looks like. And that's probably how she got her powers. It shows her kind of like tied up with things being shot into her brain, right? And that reminded me a lot of the whole Tahiti thing for Phil Coulson.
Yeah, if you've seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show,
so
he gets his brain all messed with after he dies
they
in
bring
Avengers.
him back to life.
And
so it was just reminiscent of that. It's not the same thing, but it was reminiscent of that, which I thought was kind of a cool little callback.
Now I know that they won't bring a lot of that into the movies because I know that Kevin Feige does Feige.
That's what I've always heard.
Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
No, Paul Feig. You're thinking of.
My bad.
I think it's Feige.
You're right.
He doesn't like that show and doesn't like that it
exists. Well, that's dumb. Stop being dumb.
Because
It's a good, fun show.
he
With
doesn't
good
want
acting.
it to screw up this like huge storyline that he's been
Yeah, but
building
they've
for the
taken
last
like
10
they've gone
years.
to great lengths to not do that. So whatever.
And so there's that. What was the other thing that I was gonna say with this? Oh, the movie in general, right?
Yeah.
So the movie in general, you were talking about how it's because it's Marvel.
Yes.
That's the only reason you're interested in it.
Well, I mean, I just didn't. The trailer did
Or
not wow
it's the
me.
main reason you're interested in it.
Here's the thing: the trailer did not wow me. I watched it with a friend who's also super into Marvel, and we were just kind of like, okay. Like the thing is, it was visually very beautiful to look at. It was a good visual trailer. Like Brie Larson looks fantastic in every scene. The action looks good. The way they cut together the scenes of her falling as a child and as an adult in all the different times in her life was amazing. That was really cool. But as Charlie mentioned, like they didn't tell us what's going to happen in this. There's no hint of what it's even going to be about. And for someone like me who is super confused about is she an alien, is she a human, it was so vague. And that's fine. It's the first trailer. But it didn't make me, like, if I didn't know it was Marvel and Brie Larson for that matter, I probably would have been like, it might be good. It's pretty. It looks good.
Two things. One, they probably just are trying really hard to not give anything away.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. And they're lucky enough to be Marvel, so they don't have to give you any idea what's going to happen. You're going to go see it. I'm going to go see it.
What I was going to say about this movie that makes it kind of interesting is that I think that it would be even more exciting of a trailer if it wasn't Marvel.
Okay.
So I think that
Fair enough.
First of all, if this wasn't a Marvel movie, then it would not be considered a superhero movie. It would just be a sci-fi movie.
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
So, it's a very cool...
But if she was wearing a suit.
Cool, kind of by the book sci-fi movie.
Well, I mean, that's like saying Superman is just a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, but it's very...
I mean, just because they're from space doesn't mean it's not a superhero.
And also,
Well, she is very superhero-y, too. She has a suit.
Well, yeah, but that suit is her soldier suit from the other planet.
Yeah.
It'd be like someone just wearing like
he needs a cape.
The suit of a soldier.
Helps to balance him while he flies.
He doesn't need that cape. And so I think it would be it's interesting because if this wasn't a Marvel movie, I bet that even more people would see it than are going to see it.
Oh no,
now.
I disagree, especially if it looked like it was just a sci-fi movie. There's a lot of people who like sci-fi, but there are way more who don't.
Really?
Yeah, sci-fi's like horror, where it's like horror fans
but
are
it depends on the
fans.
sci-fi movie.
But listen, horror fans are huge fans of horror. They love horror movies. But most of us don't. Most of us are casual horror fans, or we don't like it at all. Same thing with sci-fi. Like, I grew up with sci-fi. I grew up with Star Trek. I love it. Whenever there was a sci-fi movie as a kid, my mom would be like, hey, there's a new sci-fi movie. And we'd go see it. We were all into that. But I know a lot of people who have told me, like, oh, I don't like sci-fi movies. Like I've shown several people the movie Serenity who have said they didn't like sci-fi movies.
Do those people also like Marvel movies?
Yeah, of course.
They're the same thing.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think more people would go and see it if it didn't have Marvel attached.
Basically, every Marvel movie is also a sci-fi movie.
But that's what I'm saying.
Except for like Doctor Strange.
If it didn't have Marvel's name attached to it and it didn't have an obvious superhero and it was just sci-fi, I don't think people would come out to see it nearly as much. I know they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, but it would
There'd be a few people who are like, cool new sci-fi movie, and then everybody else would be like, I'm not really into sci-fi.
What I'm saying is that this Captain Marvel movie is probably going to end up being one of the better sci-fi movies that is made in this decade, or like even the last 2 decades.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's fairly original. It's based on a comic book, but it's something that people don't know a lot about.
There is a fine line between sci-fi and fantasy, though. People often like say that about Star Wars. Star Wars is a fantasy movie. It's just a fantasy world set in a fantasy place. It's not science fiction. There's no science to the fiction at all. It's all just kind of mythical and whatever.
What about midi-chlorians?
Right. But it's kind of the same with this, where it may be, I mean, I think that's the thing with superheroes that does differentiate it. It's usually a little more fantasy, a little less sci-fi.
And maybe that's what
we'll see what happens.
Seeing is that this is more outer space, I
guess the point is
outer
just
space
because
government
it's an alien
conspiracy type stuff.
Just because there's aliens doesn't mean that it's sci-fi, but oftentimes those two things go hand in hand.
And so
There was
we'll
something
see
I was
what
going to say about the trailer, and I can't think of it, and it's been driving me nuts for the last 4 minutes.
How many minutes?
4
minutes?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 minutes. All right. Well, here.
Let's move on, and we'll see if it comes.
I want to mention the director.
Oh, do it.
So the directors are someone named Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. So
Okay,
it's
never heard of them.
it's a female director and
Woo-woo.
a male director team. And they did, the only thing that I really recognized of theirs was they did It's Kind of a Funny Story, which is that Zach Galifianakis movie where he's in a psych ward.
Oh, okay. You know what I was thinking it was? I was thinking it was that awful Amy Poehler movie where they make fun of rom-coms.
Oh, no.
Amy Poehler and
so
Paul
and they
Rudd.
also wrote this movie.
It's Kind of a Funny Story is kind of a funny movie.
And they wrote that movie. They also wrote the movie Half Nelson, which is where Ryan Gosling is like a teacher somewhere, probably teaching poetry.
Familiar, but I don't remember.
Probably being inspirational in some fashion.
Oh, sure.
Some down on their luck kids need some help.
Okay, so they've written a couple things. Were those things highly rated? Do you know?
Not really.
But It's Kind of a Funny Story was a pretty good movie, actually.
And so
nothing like this, though.
It was very important to them to get a female director to do this one. Obviously, not important enough to not also have a man by her side.
They're like, listen, guys, Patty Jenkins is making us all look real bad, so we've got to have a female director. And they're like, can we throw a man in there too, though, just in case she sucks because she's a woman? That's what I think happened. Go on.
So, there's that. But
or maybe, honestly, maybe she was just like, I like working with this guy. Can he work with me? You know, it's not all, not everyone's evil.
I guess good on him for doing that, at least.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Here's
your cookie. Now moving on.
And then also there's like, for every Marvel movie now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except for Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, not anymore. But for basically every Marvel movie now, there's like 7 writers. Because they hire the writers to write the movie and the story and the original screenplay,
that's smart.
And then they send in their team of people to, 1, add stuff to it, and
make
2,
it feel like the rest.
Make sure that they didn't screw anything up timeline wise.
Well, yeah, and I think it's smart anyway. I mean, like any great television show has a team of writers. Like more movies should do that. Like, yes, sometimes you can have one writer and it'll be great, but a team of writers, that's the more minds, the better. And as a writer, I know that collaborating is always helpful.
I feel like that probably happens.
Yeah,
on
probably,
most movies.
But you don't always get the credit.
Right. There's usually one person that gets the credit or 2 people that get it, and all this other stuff. So there's that. I
remembered what I was going to say.
Oh, what is it?
Okay, so Brie Larson in this movie.
What about her?
The thing that really bothers me is in every scene, except for when she's a pilot and in the military, like climbing ropes, she has the most perfect hair any woman has ever had, ever. Okay? I'm talking about ever. I don't even know. It has to be a wig, right? I don't even think that any human could do that to their hair. It's perfect. And it's in perfect, big, gorgeous waves that, like, no hair is naturally wavy like that. It's either curly or
maybe it's
not.
magic. Maybe it's magic hair.
Maybe. But I was saying to my friends, I was like, the only thing I don't like is that clearly she gets up every morning. She's like, I got to save the world. But first I must take the time to make my hair look perfect and flawless. Right. Like, dumb. That's so dumb.
And the thing
and
about
I get it. She's hot. Why not make her look extra hot? But come on, guys.
It might be doubly stupid and like legitimately distracting because I'm guessing that her character is not like that. Like doesn't care about it at all.
Well, yeah, like there's a scene where she's wearing a ball cap and it's a joke. It's a joke to me. Like, no. You don't make your hair that perfect and then put a hat on.
Don't you mean a ball cap?
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. It's like sitting so perfectly on top of her head. Like they had to make it loose so that it wouldn't screw up her hair or push
because
down
I know that
it's so silly. You're trying to make her look like a tomboy, but you just like spent 4 hours on her hair. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it.
I know that I've seen a few comic books where she's just it's basically Buzz. She has like a flat top.
Well, and that's what people were saying, and I noticed that somebody said, "Oh, look, they have her in her underwater suit with the mohawk." That's supposed to be her, apparently. Okay. I didn't know that.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
So there's a scene where there's something underwater.
It's a helmet.
It's like a helmet that has a mohawk, why? But I guess just because it looks cool. But maybe that's because in the comic books, maybe it's a callback to her hair in the comic books.
Well, I think that one of the first appearances of Captain Marvel, who's originally Jude Law's character, whose name is Marvel, by the way. Mar-Vel.
Mr. Marvel. Oh, God.
It was, I think he had a helmet like that.
yeah, it's just kind of weird. Like, what's the point? But okay.
It's just Jack Kirby being Jack Kirby is all.
Yeah, it just looked cool. But yeah, I mean, I think of like Furiosa from what's that movie?
Mad Max.
Mad Max. And, you know, Buzzed Head. Obviously, you don't have to go that far. You can have a beautiful woman who still knows that when you're going to go run and kick ass, you got to put your hair up in a ponytail. Like, no woman is dumb enough to be like, I'm going to go kick butt, but I'm going to let my hair fly all around my face. It's going to get in the way and distract you.
Well, and it also depends
it's dumb.
on
It's not practical.
character. So, like, if she's this character that's kind of, like you said, like tomboy, kind of not giving a shit about anything, then it wouldn't make any sense that she would want her hair like that. She would not care about it.
Well, that's why I like her as a pilot. Her hair's in a tight, small, low bun. Like, of course it is. They won't let you have your hair
and
down
it
as a pilot.
seems like we're spending a lot of time on
but
this.
Listen,
but
on.
it's important.
It is important to me.
It's so important.
And I have to say something, though. I would be a hypocrite if I did not mention that Wonder Woman also constantly has perfect hair, and I'm okay with that. But that's
Wonder Woman is literally a
goddess.
goddess and knows no other way.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm okay with it, but I realize I'm a hypocrite. There's no good reason to be okay with it. She should still put her hair up. I guess she does kind of have a crown that maybe holds it back a little, but come on, Wonder Woman. I'm shouting out at you too.
Yeah, come on, Wonder Woman. Get it together.
Anyway, I'm just saying.
Stop blowing up clock towers.
I'm just saying I look forward to a day when, you know, in a movie, they're like, oh, we can be practical and realistic. A woman doesn't have to constantly be the center of your sexual fantasy. Constantly. Also, a woman with a ponytail or a small bun can be the center of your sexual fantasy. It's okay. Hair is not what makes a woman.
I'm going to title this episode Captain Marvel, the center of your sexual fantasy.
No.
Also, that is like an amazing like 80s album title. The center of your sexual fantasy.
Right.
Like a Parliament Funkadelic album.
Well, good. I'm glad that I made you think of that.
Good. Me too. Let's move on to where, when, and how you're going to see this movie. Where? When? How? Are you going to see this movie?
All right. Where, when, and how am I going to see this movie? Well, I'm going to see it in the theater when it comes out.
Oh, that's interesting. I was going to see it before it came out, but that's just
probably first weekend or first week that it comes out. I can't be spoiled. Don't you dare spoil me on it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm definitely going to see it and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'm going to also see it as soon as I can. Probably not the Thursday night showing, but you never know.
You never know.
I might do it. But I'm really excited for this one. Again, I don't want to be spoiled at all. That would be horrible.
That would be terrible. But then you want to read about it. So come on, Charlie, get it together. Which one is it?
There's a difference.
Right.
And then also I want to be able to not accidentally wait too long to a point where I can't see Avengers as soon as I want to.
Sure, yeah. We'll see it right away, I think. I think that's pretty practical. And the nice thing is we live near a B&B theater, so we could even movie pass it.
Movie pass.
Because for those of you who don't know, you can movie pass B&B. You can pick your seat in advance because they have e-ticketing. So you don't have to be at the theater day of.
You don't work for Movie Pass.
No, I'm just amazed by it. And I really hope they make it. I'm pulling for them.
Looks like we
And if they don't make it, I'm going to ride it out as long as I can.
Yeah, so we'll go see it in the movie theater. It's something
Absolutely.
you got to see in the theater. You got to see it in the theater.
It's going to be, like I said, it was visually beautiful. If anything, you can tell by the trailer that it's going to be visually stunning.
It's an event.
There were so many great things. Yes, Blockbuster is fun. That's funny and fun. I think that was just a hint that like it will be fun because they didn't really show a lot of the fun and funny in the trailer, but that's fine. Also, though, I think it's kind of funny how Blockbuster is just representative of the 90s now. Like it went into the 2000s. It might have come out in the 80s. I don't know when it started, but when you see Blockbuster in a movie, you're like, oh, it's the 90s. It hits you. You know it because it was so big then.
Also, we didn't even mention this. This is Marvel's first ever female-led movie.
Yeah, I guess that's why I went ahead and mentioned Patty Jenkins and then also mentioned Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's about time. Way to go, guys. Way to not be the first, and you had so many opportunities. They've been doing this for so long, so much longer than DC, the connected universe, and they didn't do it.
They had a lot less opportunities than DC has because Wonder Woman is one of the more famous superheroes of all time, and
yes,
Marvel
have famous
doesn't really have Well, they do
Not
now.
really, yeah, but that's because they've been creating it.
So no,
through
I mean
these movies.
I mean that all of the famous Marvel women are all either in the X-Men or the Fantastic Four for the most part.
Oh, sure, yeah, nobody cares about those things.
Well, they will soon.
Yeah, Charlie is a huge Fantastic Four fan, and he thinks that like they're really cool. But for
They
those
are
of us,
cool.
But for those of us who've never read a comic book, all we've ever seen is Jessica Alba, and
All of the best villains in the Marvel
Chris Evans,
universe
by the way.
are villains of the Fantastic Four.
so you've seen Chris Evans and Jessica Alba, and then maybe some of you have seen Michael B. Jordan's version, which I heard was
That's one of the worst
one of
movies
the worst movies ever.
I've ever seen.
And so for those of us who've never read a comic book, I think of the Fantastic Four as being the cheesiest, dumbest team of people ever. He's called Mr. Fantastic of all the names of superheroes. That's the best they could come up with. Superman is better than Mr. Fantastic.
Disagree.
Mr. Fantastic is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous name.
Something can't
Fantastic? Did it come out in the 60s or the 50s?
Yeah, early
The word
60s.
fantastic is such a 50s word. Oh, well, that's fantastic.
To quote someone
gotta-
that I heard recently, things can be funny and serious at the same time.
Listen, all I'm
You can
saying,
have a hilariously named person, Mr. Fantastic, and also have him be the world's smartest man who solves intergalactic mysteries.
Okay, but the thing is, Mr. Fantastic, when you say the word fantastic, you either have to say it with a country accent, like, well, that's fantastic, or you got to say it with a transatlantic accent, like the 50s, like, it's fantastic, I tell ya. You
Well,
know?
and that's why it
And
would be
it's
really cool to
dumb.
have them time displaced, to have their characters come from the 60s
That
into
would be the only
modern
way it
day.
would be acceptable that they would choose the name Fantastic. It's
And you would
dumb.
have really cool type of interactions with the Invisible Woman, who would be coming out of 60s sexism right into this progressive era.
Invisible Woman is an okay name, I guess. What's the other one? The Flame guy?
Human Torch
Human Torch is an okay name.
and The Thing.
The Thing is an okay name. Mr. Fantastic is their leader. They couldn't have come up with a better name.
Well, and if they make a new one in modern day, they'll just call him by his name. Because
Which
that's
is what?
Reed Richards.
Okay, that's fine.
That's one of the things that started...
Dr. Reed Richards, right? He's a doctor.
Yeah, he's a doctor. That one of the things that started the Marvel way off is the Fantastic Four and the fact that they are superheroes who are also celebrities, basically. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody knows their names and their identities and where they live.
Yeah.
And so everything, like in the MCU with Iron Man, pretty much, everything he has done up to this point was originally like the Fantastic Four's jam, where they made that big building and they have operate and they're celebrities and they're doing
But
stuff.
I will say this, though, okay? Still, Marvel doesn't have any main female superheroes because in X-Men and in the Fantastic Four, there's no superwoman, no superhero woman who is like the superhero who goes and does her own thing. She's always a part of a team, an integral part maybe, but still a part of a team.
Right, yeah.
Whereas
Especially
Wonder
of all
Woman
of the original
is Wonder
ones.
Woman. You've got Superman is Superman, Batman is Batman, Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. They might team up later on, but that's not how they start off. They do their own thing. They're there to do their own thing. Same thing with, Spider-Man, who is in obviously Marvel. Who else in Marvel is like that? That's like an individual. Obviously, like the Hulk does his
all
own
of them.
thing.
I mean, Iron
Man,
Doctor Strange,
Captain America.
is
Yeah.
often only doing his own
All
thing.
of those people, at the very least, started off doing their own thing. That's not how the women in the Marvel universe are.
That's why I think
Black
and
Widow did, but she's also not super.
I
She's
think-
just a person, so it's just not the same.
And I keep saying this, but they'll never do it because they're not brave enough. They have to. They should start making new heroes.
I don't say that.
Make a movie
Here's
that
the
is
thing.
Marvel Studios movie that is a hero that has never been seen before. That can be a woman or whatever. And then
and they could do it.
They have
easily.
new powers
There's so
that
many
you've
opportunities.
never heard of. Maybe they could branch off from someone else's storyline, but just make a new person to.
Honestly, it would be easy
for
to
a
do.
new generation of fans.
Here's the thing: it would be easy to do for Marvel because, as we've stated, their name carries a lot of weight.
Right.
So it would be easy to do, and they could do it, and it would be great. I wouldn't say they'll never do it, though. I don't think that they're just not brave enough. I think that once Infinity War, the second movie, is done, they're gonna have to do some sort of a, not necessarily reboot, but catch their breath and figure out what's next.
Well, and like
they're going to be losing people. Apparently, Chris Evans recently said he is not coming back.
Maybe.
Right?
You never know.
Well, he said that though, right?
I don't know.
I thought we just saw that.
It might be a trick.
Anyway, but you know that he said it. You don't know if it's a trick or not, but you know that he said it.
It might be a trick. It might be a treat.
The point is, we're gonna be losing some of those characters. Some of them are just getting too old. They're gonna move on, and there's lots of things they can do where they don't have to necessarily reboot and start over. Like Iron Man. Charlie has mentioned before that there is Ironheart in the comic books, which is a young black female teenager who he basically gives a suit to.
He mentors her, I think. I'm not entirely sure.
I think that would be awesome. Like, I'm a big fan of that idea.
And it 100% should be Shuri.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And some people have talked about that. And it absolutely could be. It would be awesome. So I think that would be awesome. That's one way you could do it.
What would it be?
Awesome. They could bring in some X-Men type characters. We've talked about how maybe not Okoye, what's her name? The one that he's in love with. What's her name? Nakia. Nakia could potentially end up being Storm, because apparently in some version of the comic book, Storm marries Black Panther.
Yeah.
So maybe she's somehow gifted, especially because the way that Marvel has done it, where they couldn't call them mutants.
Well, the way that I said it was that Thor dies and gifts his powers to her.
That would be awesome.
Because maybe she saves someone that he cares
and so
about.
there could be some sort of either gifting of powers or some sort of experimentation or whatever. She could get her powers the way that, the Scarlet Witch got her powers. She's not a mutant because they've kind of put that aside.
And
they weren't allowed to call her a mutant, so they put that aside.
I honestly think that they're trying to do that because in Thor Ragnarok, the way that his powers work and the way his eyes light up are exactly like Storm.
Oh, yeah. He looks amazing, too, by the way. Can we just say that?
Okay.
Storm always looks amazing.
Let's move on to Rotten Tomatoes percentages before this thing goes 3 hours.
Fine.
Rotten Tomatoes percentages! All right, Rotten Tomatoes percentages. I think this one is going to get a 91%.
Wow. Okay. Very high. Very high. Just thinking about some recent Marvel movies, not getting quite as high as they had in the past. People are being, having really high expectations, but I think it'll get an 89%. We'll just
89?
barely push it under 90. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. In all reality, as much as I love Wonder Woman and I will always love it for what it is, this will probably be better than Wonder Woman as far as quality of movie. And the only reason is because Zack Snyder will never, ever, ever get to touch it. And I'm sorry, Zack, but you can't ruin this for us.
Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp got an 88.
Yeah.
And so I think that this one will be
that's
a
true.
lot
Good point.
better
But
than
what
that.
didn't I feel like recently Marvel movies haven't been getting as good. Maybe I'm wrong. What am I thinking?
I think that we just think that they're getting lesser in quality with the solo ones.
Yeah.
So like what I said about Ant-Man and the Wasp, where I was
88.
just like, if every solo movie from here on out is the quality of Ant-Man and the Wasp, then I will probably stop seeing them at some point.
I will say, okay, I could go ahead and go with you and match you at 91.
Okay.
I think it'll get less.
It'll be 91 to 95.
I think it'll get less than Wonder Woman. I feel like Wonder Woman got the privilege of riding the wave of being the first female superhero standalone movie.
Yeah.
And I think she deserves that 93%.
But this one
100%.
will be better.
But that this one will be better made. Not necessarily a better story, not necessarily a better hero by any means. I'm sorry, but I can't see just some human that got, powers from aliens being better than Wonder Woman as a character.
That's why she's better.
I can't see that. Wonder Woman's a freaking goddess. But
she's been through struggles.
But yeah, and Wonder Woman is so innocent that everything is a struggle. The world is just ruining her. She's like a child who's coming into the world.
That's
and just
someone you can
having
connect
her
with.
Soul crushed.
Someone who's so naive that she's always having her soul crushed.
My soul is being crushed all the time by the awful world. I don't know what you're talking about. I can absolutely relate to that. But I
think I've gotten pretty sufficiently jaded at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's cool. It's cool to see her lose the innocence. It's like that feeling.
You know what ice cream is. Sorry, go ahead.
Wow. Anyway, she's heard of it, but she's never really experienced it. Anyway, we're getting off topic. The point is, I don't think she'll necessarily be a better character or a better story than her, but I think that we won't have to deal with awful, over-the-top CGI fighting. There will be CGI, but it won't be like Zack Snyder requires, where it's like, things flying all around, and
Yeah, everything is constantly flying around in a circle.
Everything is just floating in a circle. That's his one tactic that he has. This will be more interesting. The fighting will be more interesting. We're going to see more hand-to-hand combat. All of the fighting in Wonder Woman was awesome up until the very last scene. I think we can all agree on that. Like her jumping into that building and then sliding on her knees and like hitting people and lassoing them, and all the different things she did was badass. Going through no man's land with her shield, badass. And then at the end, they're like, instead of having her do this crazy hand-to-hand combat with basically the devil, let's have the devil just take a bunch of rocks and metal and wrap himself up in it and throw them at her. Like, why? Who thought that was a good idea? Oh yeah, Zack Snyder.
Before we go, I want to say one more thing, a hope for this movie. And that is, I hope that we kind of get a more defined understanding of what her powers are. Because if she can just like,
I think she's just Superman.
Shoot stuff. No, she shoots like beams and stuff. Like that's one of her things.
She's like a mix between Superman and Thor.
Sure,
She's
but
got
like I want to know what her abilities are and how powerful she is.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be like, ooh, she's the most powerful. And I kind of hate how that's kind of arbitrary a lot of times in comic books and superhero stories. Is just like they'll just write a character and be like, and they're the most powerful. And it's like, why?
Well, yeah, they say that about Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Where she's like,
why?
She's one of the most powerful. And it's like, I don't understand.
I think the reason they say that about Scarlet Witch is because she can control your mind. And if she can control your mind, then she can control anything. Like, I think that's why, because she's like the purple man.
But she never did that.
She never does. It's frustrating. Maybe she's morally opposed to it now that she's a good guy. I think that's possible.
I would be.
Yeah, I would be. It's like, I want to fight you, but I want to give you a fighting chance. It's not fair to just take over your mind. Like, I could just take over everyone's mind and have them kill themselves, but that's amoral.
Some early X-Men comic books, Professor X, just like, so there's this one guy who's like threatening, I don't know, someone on the lawn of the White House or something like that. Somewhere. And so Professor X just rolls up and goes into his mind and erases all of his memories. And so the guy's just standing there freaking out, just like, where am I? Who am I? What's going on?
Yeah,
and he's like going insane. He like basically
goes insane.
Made this person insane.
But he didn't kill him. Could have killed him.
What? Yeah, but that is crazy. And like,
give him a blank slate. Let him.
He's never gonna get any of it back. He doesn't know who he is or what's
Professor
going on.
X
he just wiped his mind, basically.
Yeah, he wiped the mind of the woman he loved, too, and that's not okay. Look, I think we all know that if you have the power to mess with people's minds, it's not right. Yeah, it's not right. And so I think that's the thing. I think that makes sense, though, why people say she's the most powerful, because basically she's like the purple man. If you can control their brain, you can control everything. And she's a good person, so she chooses not to.
But can't you just make them, like, see their fears or something? Like, hallucinate? Is she controlling them? I don't think so.
I think that she could. I don't know. I guess that's the thing. It is vague. She's a witch. What does that mean? But, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think.
Would you like to see a spin-off movie where Scarlet Witch accidentally gets transported back into time into the Salem witch trials?
No.
No? Okay.
But no, I think, here's the thing. I think we both know this is going to be a fun and good movie. It's cool that they're finally doing a solo female character. I think that they'll do it justice. I don't think it'll be over the top. Like, yes, I made fun of how her hair is beautiful, but I do think they'll do it justice because Brie Larson is an actual real life badass woman. Like, she's so awesome. She has played badass women in almost every movie she's been in. Like, she's always somehow very powerful and awesome. Like, I mean, even when she's playing a victim, she's still like a powerful victim who isn't going to let her bad situation control her, right? So she's awesome. And anyway, I think that it's going to be good. She's going to be badass. They're going to do it justice. At least they do have a woman director. And I'm interested and excited to see what happens.
You can follow us on our social media accounts. That Twitter at MTT Podcast, Facebook, search Movie Trailer Trash, Instagram, Movie Trailer Trash. What else is there?
Did you say Facebook?
Yeah, I said Facebook. You can go subscribe, review us on iTunes.
That's what you should really do.
And you can go listen to all the other episodes. They're really good.
Rate, review, and tell your friends about us, please. It makes us so happy when you spread the news.
And as always, follow our friends Entertainment Buffet at Entertainment Buffet and subscribe to their YouTube channel as well.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, marvelous people.
Okay.
Oh boy.